On Tuesday, when I had my first day back in the office after recovering from COVID, I was all on my own here. No staff was there. And after being stuck with my family for quite some time, I honestly did enjoy this a lot. So I had some stuff to do, but I wasn't pressed for time. I did a tiny walk around the campus, and I walked into the sanctuary and decided to sit in the pews a couple of minutes and be silent. Enjoy the quietness of the place. Sit, pray. And I tried. But all I managed was, God, I. And then my thoughts got trapped on a list in my head. I need to write these emails. I want to read these texts, and I will think about that upcoming event. Then I have to go home. I give a couple of people a call. I need to eat. And when I finish this other thing, I can relax, and I crave something sweet. I feel tired. My mouth is dry. I want some water. I gave up. There was no silence. I was too loud. I was too busy, and I couldn't bring myself to take a step back from the list in my head. When I came back to my desk in the office and looked at the gospel reading for today, I felt caught. The ritual reminded me in a way of myself. What should I do, for I have no place to store my crops? Then he said, I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and all my goods, and I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry. The ritual is so self-absorbed, so focused on things he can and needs to do to make a good life for himself. I will do this, I will do that, my grain, my crops, my soul. But his life is being demanded of him this very night. Probably all of you have done this thought experiment at one point in your life. What would you do if you had only a limited time left to live? Is there a bucket list you're working on? What are the things you want to do, to finish, to accomplish? Who are the people you want to talk to say goodbye, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry? What are the things you cannot forgive? And how and where can you find your inner peace, calm and rest in the remaining costly time? What would you do if you had only a limited time left to live? Well, surprise, we do only have a limited time left to live, all of us. From the very beginning, our time is limited. Our life is costly. Our life is a gift. As baptized, we don't think of ourselves as isolated and independent individuals. We exist in the constant connection to God, the giver of life, and all that shares this, God's gift of life with us. And whatever shape these connections take in certain moments of our life, as baptized, we acknowledge that we cannot live unrelated, unconnected. The relation to God and our neighbor might be tense, severed, or intact, but it is never non-existent. We strive to love God and our neighbor as ourselves. But I bet a lot of you are familiar with the experience I described prior, the list of things in your head, the things that you need to do, that you center around, what you want, what you crave, your work, your love, your focus. Luther describes this behavior as incurvatus in se, a person turned inward on oneself, a life focused inward on oneself rather than actively seeking relationship with God and others. But our everyday lives are just full of things we need to do. And it's just natural to focus on ourselves because we are the ones living our life, right? We must organize our often stressful days, manage, balance. No one does that for us. And often it's not only directly for ourselves, isn't it? And just sometimes we ask for our fair share, as the young man who wants Jesus as judge of his inheritance battle. So is Jesus' reaction not a little exaggerated? Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Greed is the uncontrolled and insatiable desire to possess more than we need. And we can be in need of many things: more food, fame, power, possessions, appreciation, status, land. Greed is never satisfied by what it desires. Greed always wants more. In German, a word for greed is Habsucht, the addiction to own, to possess, to have, and to not share. One way of dealing with greed has been renunciation. For centuries, Franciscan monks have lived after the rule of St. Francis of Assisi. Go and sell everything you have, take nothing for the journey, deny yourself, and follow Jesus. Short and straightforward. Complete renunciation of personal desires to not elicit greed. That is one way to deal with it. But not everyone is created for a monastic life. And even if you live after this rule, success is not a given. It depends on the inner attitude. The renunciation of money or other possessions is an outward sign of the more inward struggle. Another way of dealing with greed is self-control. And maybe that is the more difficult path, as you choose to be not only confronted with your trigger points in your life, but also decide to enjoy them now and then. Can you stop working to take a breath and take a step back in a very demanding project? Can you stop eating, even if there's so much food left and it's too delicious? If money is not an issue, are you still able to stop and think before ordering more stuff on Amazon? And how much money is enough money? Just a little bit more, as John D. Rockefeller put it? With the parable, Jesus warns us how easy it is to lose focus, because who of us wouldn't build a bigger barn if they had more grain and crops to store? Totally reasonable. Take care. Be on your guard. Instead, be rich toward God. But what does that mean? In an essay on this passage, theologian David Thomas asked these questions. What does a heart and a lifestyle and a home and a bank account rich toward God look like? Maybe it means holding our mortality closer than we want to. Maybe it means asking hard questions about what makes us feel secure or insecure. Maybe it means acknowledging that even our hard-earned, well-earned, self-earned wealth comes from God and belongs to God. Maybe it means prioritizing human interconnectedness over personal gain or asset management. Maybe it means dialoguing with God more ardently than we monologue with ourselves. Maybe it means holding human wisdom lightly, knowing that God's wisdom will almost always render our own foolish. This very night, our life is being demanded of us. But doesn't God already demand our lives every single day? Amen.